Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to week 3 of the Link to the Past Randomizer spoiler log tournament. Tonight we're bringing you two players who are so far undefeated, Kyong and oneup40. One of them will still be undefeated after tonight, one of them won't. I'm Drossi, I'm here with Clearmouse. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. This is definitely one of the best matches, in my opinion, to watch this week. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, but both really top-tier runners in general. Kyong is in fact our reigning champion from last year's spoiler log tournament, so he's gonna be. oneup is pretty strong himself. I mean, his team went to the finals of the ALTTPR League just last month, beating Kyong's team in the semifinals, in fact.
Although, coincidentally, these guys did not actually face each other directly, just their teams did. So whether it's good fortune or misfortune, we get to see this. We get to see this matchup.
But it should be a really good one, and you can see the timers counting down. The runners have had 15 minutes to study the spoiler log, so as soon as those timers hit 0, the 15 minutes will be up, and they will be able to get underway.
Yeah, both these runners are, have incredibly solid execution. Which is one of the hallmarks of a spoiler log race, right? So this is definitely really something to watch. And here we go. Divergence already. All right, so Kyong is walking out of Sanctuary, and oneup is looking. He's going presumably to the castle.
Always amazes me in spoiler log races when they pick different starts right off the bat, because it shows that they, in 15 minutes of studying, have very different ideas for how to approach the seed.
Yeah, if you ever want 15 minutes to go by very quickly, try a spoiler log race, because those 15 minutes, they'll just seem to be like nothing. All right, so we see oneup picking up the lamp, it looks like, from Uncle. That's always a nice option. It's a nice option to have. Fire source, and you don't have to do dark rooms anymore.
Yeah, interesting that oneup went for the 50 rupees there when there are 300 in the basement of Blind's hut. And he's going into Hyrule Castle without a weapon.
Maybe he will either know or think he was going to pick something up along the way. Looks like...
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say maybe that first chest has something.
It's almost as if they have a log of some sort that tells them where all the items are.
Well, flippers are nice and required since swamps a crystal. And for those of you who may not be familiar with spoiler log races, you'll notice that all the crystals and pendants are already filled in on the tracker because the runners were able to look that up.
Yeah, meanwhile, Kyong in Kakariko picking up a lot of goodies. He got the flutes from Sick Kid, and he also looks like he got the Moon Pearl, bombos, and of course a bottle. Both of them picking up bombs. What a nice sync.
Yeah, it's just interesting routing on oneup's part that clearly there's necessary stuff in Kakariko. He's got to go there, but he's choosing to do this other stuff first.
Yeah, maybe oneup thinks that he can just grab everything kind of here and then kind of like in his route in Kakariko. But it looks like in this case, like Kyong, because he went to Kakariko first, picked the flute, he's going to be able to get to his hospitals much quicker, or anywhere else really for that matter.
Well, that glove in Sahasrara's closet is certainly nice. But I'm interested to see if he's planning to use it for something immediately. I mean, I guess it opens... Glove plus lamp opens Death Mountain, but no, he's going South Shore like Kyong is.
Alright, what does Mini Moldum Cave have in store for us today? More bombs. Another glove. Okay, blue mail, which is always nice. Oh, a new heart container and some money. It's actually a really nice cave.
So if 1UP goes to Kakariko right after this, he could have his Dark World access pretty quickly.
Yeah, these mini Moldorms are not cooperating here. Okay.
And with these runners, I'm guessing we won't see too many heart container pickups. Like, I'm sure each of them only picked up that blue mail and that heart container because they had to go in there for the glove anyway, so it was very little extra time.
Yeah, and actually, so one very minor difference is that Kyong ended up picking up everything that was in Mini Moldorm Cave versus 1UP. He just kind of looks like he just cherry picked his way through, and whether that was intentional or not, like some runners definitely just look at something, say, oh, this is a Mini Moldorm Cave, and then because you're just kind of in the area, you may as well pick up things. Other runners will see, you know what, I only want exactly these 3 chests. So.
Now 1UP took a whirlpool warp that you don't see very often, but it was the fastest way to CAC.
Yeah, especially without a flute. Alright, so Kyong, 5 minutes in, has Myth's Dark World access. Not necessarily the best type of Dark World access, but you take what you can get.
Well, given the absence of a sword so far, we're probably not seeing Aga anytime soon. There's a bow.
So pick up 1 bow.
I think I like Kyong's early routing a little bit better than 1UP's. Though Kyong is gonna have to go back to Hyrule Castle at some point to get those flippers.
Yeah, if flippers are only blocking Swamp Palace, maybe it's not necessarily on the critical path yet, right? So like if Kyong could probably put it off if he thinks that there are more items that are higher priority. You see 1UP buying the less often bought heart from the shop. In these like low percent runs, I think if you have the money to spare, that extra heart can go a long way for you.
And here's Kyong in Hype Cave getting the boots. Very nice pickup this early.
I think that boots always makes runners happy. And the hammer. Okay, so we now have normal Dark World access. Oh, and another safety. It's always nice.
Which means, unless there's something on Lumberjack, this is not Naga Seed. But yeah, I think overall, Kyong just getting the flute earlier, getting the boots earlier, has had better ways to travel around the world quicker sooner.
There might be a reason why Kyong won the spoiler race tournament last year.
Very true. And he's now grabbed the fire rod.
Alright, so 1UP found his Dark World access. Is making his way, presumably also to pick up his bow at some point. But also, he's going into chess game, which I don't think we saw Kyong do for an extra heart container, which that's actually that's a really fast safety to pick up.
And he's heading for the brewery now. Oh, now Kyong's getting the heart container, same place. And there's our other bow. So either runner could have silvers if they want it.
It's actually interesting in that Kyong picked up the bow from Sea House and 1UP picked it up from the brewery, and neither of them went back for the other one.
And you'd think this early in the game, they'd want the silvers because, I mean, it doesn't help in Thieves Town, but there are a number of bosses you can save some time on, especially Vitreous and obviously Ganon, but,
Oh yeah.
you know, it's also nice against Helmasaur and Argus.
Yeah, and the fact that we haven't defeated any crystals or bosses yet, I mean, that means that, you know, anytime you can get silvers early, you'll definitely get advance. Okay, so it looks like we have our first sword pickup.
Yeah, and chat's remarking, and this is kind of interesting, given where Fire Rod is and that Bombos isn't required for dungeon entry, why did they bother to get Bombos? I mean, I guess it can save you some magic on Cold Stare, but there's really nothing else you'd use it for when Fire Rod's available, and it looks like OneUp's about to get his Fire Rod, in fact.
Yeah, well, so Bombos was in the well, so maybe it was just a very, you know, like convenient pickup, and you know, Bombos does, you know, take care of enemies, especially if you're doing low percent. It's certainly possible that you just need to beat a clear screen of enemies, maybe. Alright, Kyong's making his way into Thieves Town, probably going to get to blind relatively quickly. 5 hearts, blue mail, although the blue mail probably won't help as much for blind. I don't think this should be an issue for Kyong, but you know.
I'm sure Kyong has the script down. I mean, even the best runners can screw up the script on a bad day, but
yeah,
odds are.
Yeah, odds. Yeah, and in fact, that he also has, you know, he found the fighter sword, which fighter sword blind is a lot nicer than hammer blind.
Well, perfect script through 2 phases. And that's the perfect script for you.
So we have a first crystal pickup at 11 minutes and 40-some seconds and change. Certainly very fast from these guys. And OneUp's going to be able to pick up his Thieves Town crystal relatively soon as well. Oh, that was a really nice dash through that hallway there.
Yeah.
Also, kind of like one nice, you know, convenience about beating Thieves Town early. So you notice that when OneUp went to go get his lamp from Uncle, he also picked up the 2 small magic drops. Kyong hasn't done that yet, but because he finished Thieves Town, now he has a free magic refill after he beat the boss. So it's a very, very minor time save so far. But you know, with these kind of with these types of runners, you know, every frame basically can count, right, towards a victory.
And while we were talking, Kyong decided that he did in fact want silver arrows. And now he's grabbing the mirror too, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, so not only does that definitely gives you access into Swamp, or at least partial access to Swamp, you know, it's also just like a very nice convenience, also in terms of like mobility, right? You now can move between Light World and Dark World. And, you know, so like so certainly Mire is a crystal, so they'll have to go into that area eventually, but you know, if there's anything ever in Desert, right, they can just combo that immediately.
Oh, and now Kyong's getting his lamp and his flippers. Interesting. So I still think he'll be slightly ahead when oneup finishes with blind and Kyong gets his flipper. Oneup also nicely on script so far. Got a bit off script, but just gets blind down with 1 heart left.
Just making things more interesting for the viewers. Oh, this is actually interesting. So when Kyong went to go get his flippers, because he had the mirror, he can actually just mirror out. So that's actually, I think that is a little bit more of a time gain on oneup. So I think when oneup got his flippers, he just ended up saving quitting.
Yeah. Yeah, and so now oneup is basically behind by hammer pegs.
Which, I mean, it's this is relatively quick, so I mean, it's still, you know, the lead can change, certainly with these runners, and like we have how many more bosses left? And we have 6 crystal bosses left. Those bosses are certainly very viable to RNG.
So now the thing about Pod... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay, no, I was just gonna say that. So it looks like Kyong wants to do pod first, where it looks like oneup wants to take a divergence and finish Skull Woods, or at least either. Well, he has everything he needs to finish Skull Woods, but if not, he can always get whatever he wants out of here.
I mean, it's a crystal, so you would expect him not to double dip it. Us mere mortals wouldn't necessarily challenge Moth on 6 hearts even with blue mail, but I'm sure oneup can. I was going to say about Pod, part of the challenge in a spoiler log race is figuring out exactly how many keys you need based on where you need to go for items.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true about Pod. It's I think it's actually one of the most interesting dungeons to route once you kind of know where everything is, because the path definitely is very different depending on where the big key is and if there are any specific items that you want out of Pod.
And today the big key was vanilla, so you need a key to get up there, so he then replenished that key from the... I forget what you call that basement room.
Yeah, I think I'm also drawing a blank. It's the basement room with the stealth post. Yeah.
Wow, oneup just did a hammer moth kill, and it only cost him 2 hearts.
All right, so second crystal for oneup. Yeah, these guys have a really good they have a really strong knack to not die.
And that was a nice time-saving hammer yump, because apparently Kyong doesn't need anything else from the back, but now he's got his mire access.
Okay, so for the divergence, oneup is going to do Death Mountain. There's a red mail. I wonder if he's going to go pick it up. It's pretty free, but then again, it is an extra, 2 seconds or whatever to actually pick up an item.
He spent the 2 seconds.
I mean, any type of mail upgrades, I think, is, even especially if they're in the way, they're probably one of the most valuable safeties that you can think of. Right? Like as compared to a heart container, right? It's essentially, you get like double, or you get double your payback. Looks like maybe oneup maybe might have misread the spoiler log, or just forgot, or it could just be muscle memory for which chest he wants at Hera.
Yeah, it's like, now which one's the map chest again? Because you have to, like, these chests are named things like map chest, compass chest, big key chest, so you have to remember where all these items are in the vanilla game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, and these guys both have very strong NMG times, but even if you're an NMG runner, like, you probably you're most familiar with the big key chest, but but because you always avoid the map and the compass, sometimes you still have to go look up and say like, oh yeah, this is the map chest and this is the compass chest.
So we're getting the big key out of its vanilla location. Can't Harapot because we don't have hookshot.
Okay, so it looks like Kyong is picking up his second crystal, which is different than oneup second crystal, at almost under the 20-minute mark.
Oneup's well on his way to his third crystal now.
Yeah, then the thing with the discovery of Harapot, it's so infrequent that you see these rooms, because it seems like like players if you don't like, they don't now want to do Hera without shots.
Well, think of all the rooms in Ice Palace you never see anymore thanks to Icebreaker.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and in fact, so sometimes when runners have to do ice. Oh look, there is a. Speaking of the hook shots, looks like we definitely were going to do Harapot today.
Yeah, looks like Kyong's about to do the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say for like the less seen rooms down Hera, due to Harapot, and Icebreaker and Ice Palace. It always is. It's kind of refreshing to see runners still be able to do those the less, I guess, like visited rooms now just as well as as if they it was like the pre Icebreaker Harapot days. Alright, looks like oneup has his third crystal. Kyong will be following suit very shortly.
That also gives oneup swamp access now, so let's see if he's going there. Nope, he's doing pod.
Yeah, and I think we only pulled out an ether from pod, if I remember correctly. So so it seems like you can actually end up doing, so long as you do pod before Mire. Well, because in this case you have to. It looks like it doesn't actually probably matter. Which dungeon you end up doing first.
And fortunately, there have been enough rupees in convenient locations that neither runner had trouble paying off Kiki. One of those things you don't necessarily think about routing in right up until you can't afford Kiki.
Oh yeah, and so that's also one of kind of like I don't know if it's considered a gotcha in spoiler log. You just would be more cognizant of your resource management, especially towards the beginning, or even in this case we mentioned it could be mid game to pay off Kiki. Maybe you need money for dig game. Maybe you need money for chest game. So like when you're doing a blind run, right, you're looking for a progression, and as part of your search, you end up finding a lot of specifically like junk items, right? 10 arrows, 20 rupees, 5 rupees, maybe 3 bombs, and but like those things add up over time, right? So then by the time that maybe you get to Kiki, right, or you get to chest game, you just already have a stash of a couple hundred rupees, right? Just like kind of like sitting there waiting for you. But in a spoiler log, you are going towards very. Oh no, Kyong! Oh, what a jerk!
Even the best players get trolled by the dorm.
All right, and just just to finish up my man Kyong. Oh. And just to finish up my thought, yes, you know, like, but so by the time that, you know, in a blind run, because you already have all these resources, you don't have, you know, any concern. But maybe in a spoiler race, because you're targeting specific items, you may not be accumulating as much little things kind of along the way. So. So Kyong here has exacted his revenge against Moldorm, picking up his third crystal. Alright, onwards and upwards, or onwards and downwards.
Maybe he'll do Skull Woods while OneUp finishes off Pod here, and then they'll be even at 4 crystals.
Yeah, in terms of equipment, I'm not sure if there was actually much of a difference. Kyong, I think, right, so OneUp had 6 hearts. Kyong has the luxury of a 7th heart. But I think in terms of offense, looks like it's still going to be Fighter Sword, Fire Rod, and Hammer.
And they both have a safety fairy in a bottle. So what do they still need? Really, the Cane of Samaria and a better sword is all I can think of that they absolutely need to get.
Yeah, I think in terms of crystal completion, that is correct. So if they want to enter Pendant Turtle Rock, they'll have to find place somewhere. But that would be up to the discretion of the runners. I think chat pointing out that Kyong in this case has the red mail, which is a safety upgrade that OneUp didn't have when he was fighting Moth. Looks like Kyong didn't need it. Also very well done fighting Moth.
Well, I mean, the biggest threat in there is the traps, which are going to take 1 heart regardless of mail. So looks like Kyong's maybe half a minute ahead of OneUp.
Yeah, that looks about right. I mean, really. Oh, look, there's a very convenient red cane just sitting on the ledge, waiting to be picked up.
And desert's a pendant, so we're not actually going inside.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so far, at least for Eastern and Desert to be pendants, it doesn't seem like people are making dips into those dungeons. So that's actually really nice if you just end up skipping whole dungeons like this.
And yes, as chat's starting to comment, they're on their 5th crystal dungeon and they're still on Fighter Sword, so those other 3 swords must be in some pretty nasty places. Because you don't voluntarily do Fighter Sword Mire unless, there are no alternatives.
I mean, still,
I guess actually...
sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I guess with silvers it doesn't make a huge difference because most of the enemies don't have much defense, and Vidi goes down quickly with silvers, so it doesn't matter what sword you have.
Yeah, so I definitely agree. I was going to remark that for at least the I guess technically second room of Meyer, it's I think very common strat for runners is to use sword beams here if possible, and the fact that they don't really have that certainly can slow them down a bit. So like if they could probably get sword beams or a second sword before Meyer, that might have been a consideration for these guys. So this looks like a go mode mire. Big Key is sitting in a not too inconvenient spot. Certainly not cutscene chest or vanilla, which is nice. Kyong kicking up some dust. Looks like he had activated Spooky earlier, so I imagine these next couple rooms should go by pretty quickly. He's gonna hit the spike. Okay, so that's one hit switch. He's going to try and hit the fairy, which is another switch hit, and then towards the end he's going to hit that torch, which should be the last switch hit.
And with the game this close, not getting Spooky could make quite a difference. So both of these runners need to do it.
Alright, so down goes Vitreous very quickly, as you mentioned, with silvers. It's kind of a blink and you miss it boss. And as Kyong picks up his 5th crystal. Alright, looks like oneup also got his Spooky through, which is great. So one observation here, when Kyong came into Vitreous, he had more than enough arrows to take Vitreous down. Even I think he spent an extra one that he didn't need to. Oneup here, on the other hand, I think he only has 9 silver arrows, so it looks like he has to also do some bomb strats.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You don't often see runners that, go into Vitreous with silvers and then, oops, don't have enough arrows to actually do the full fight. Oh no! Well, he has the fairy, but still, that's eating up time. And here's where that fighter sword is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, and not only does the fighter sword, as I think most people realize, it does the least amount of damage of all the swords. It also has a smaller spin range and hit range. That actually could end up making also some like very minor differences.
Yeah, so we'll have to ask oneup in the interview about his arrow count here, because that just gave Kyong quite a bigger lead than he had.
Alright, so we're gonna watch Kyong make his way through Swamp Palace. He does have the King of Samaria, so I do imagine that he will probably do some version of Diver Down. Even if he doesn't have the cane, I still imagine he would do some version to speed up the dungeon up a bit. We'll see if he ends up picking up anything along the way.
Yeah, I mean, in chat's talking about, like, the arrow situation. There have been enough jars with arrows under them that the runners have passed by that There was enough opportunity for each of them to plan to pick up enough arrows if they had thought about it.
This is actually one thing that, if you have some vanilla game knowledge, or just, in general, if you play the game probably either more, more casually, so like the pots or the contents of the pots is actually not listed in the spoiler log. So, any amount of game knowledge definitely is to your advantage here.
And we're gonna have a nice menu boss fight coming up.
Kyong taking the time to pick up more arrows.
You want to be prepared when you get to GT and face Ganon.
Yeah, no, like to be very cognizant of your resources is definitely something that's very important in these races.
Oh wow, Kyong is actually getting off the double fighter sword spin somewhat. But he's decided that, missing some of those spins is still faster than menuing to hammer. One-up doing the bomb setup to dive her down, but gets it pretty quickly.
Yeah, Kyong takes down Argus using one of his newly picked up silver arrows. Looks like it looks like also one of has also go loaded swamp in this case.
And since the runners are definitely past it now, we can tell you that the Swamp Big Chest had half magic, so there's a safety we're not going to see today.
Answer question chat. The big key of swamp was in waterfall room, so they would have to backtrack.
Yeah, if it had been like the first chest, it's not too far out of the way, but basically any other chest either requires going out of your way or backtracking.
Kyong making his way through the 7th and final crystal dungeon for him. With Canis Maria, this dungeon should go by fairly quickly.
I think OneUp had a slightly faster Argus fight there, may have made up a few seconds. Kyong does not get Icebreaker on his first try, but he gets it his second try.
Just giving OneUp some more opportunity to catch back up.
Except that OneUp was getting into a little bit of a fight with a bird there.
And a freezer. Yeah, that guy. I don't know what it is sometimes about these hitboxes. It's just like sometimes it's just very unexpected. Yes.
Well, OneUp's also feeling the pressure, assuming he's looking at Kyong's stream and knows that he's behind.
Yeah, that's really very possible. I mean, he also could just be, even if he wasn't watching the stream, the fact that he couldn't kill Vitreous quickly with only silver arrows, he might also be feeling some pressure. Sorry,
well, he did.
Go ahead.
I was going to say he did make up a small amount of time again getting Icebreaker the first try, and yeah, here's where that Bombos comes in handy, because they're still on Fighter Sword, and Hammer Cold Stare really isn't that great, so being able to conserve enough magic to get in some Fire Rod hits really gets you a lot of the way through the fight.
Yeah, it looks like Kyong definitely made a good use of his Fire Rod. You know, Puffs, for the most part, didn't really get away, but you know, it's definitely a very difficult fight, nonetheless. Takes Cold Stare down though, no problems. Okay, so it looks like Kyong picks up his 7th crystal under the 40-minute mark, which is incredibly fast, even for someone like Kyong.
Okay, so given the extra time to pick up that key, I think Kyong's routing was faster going to the extra room to hit the switch.
Yeah, I must have missed this. Did OneUp not hit the switch earlier?
OneUp did not hit the switch. He got the big key on the way, which is fine, but he didn't have a small key and had to detour to the next room over to grab a small key. And so I think, given that detour plus the extra couple of rooms to go around the vanilla way, it probably took longer than it took Kyong to go into the other room to hit the switch. And because OneUp was having some magic conservation issues earlier, he wasn't able to get in as many Fire Rod hits on Cold Stare as Kyong was, so he's having to take a bit longer doing the hammer strats.
Oh, but he does the hammer strats so well. No, that is ridiculously difficult. I mean, the hammer hitbox is really finicky, especially with Cold Stare and what he has. He does have a fairy, so he does have some safety, but still, that was a very nicely done hammer fight.
And it looks like these runners are going straight to GT with a fighter sword. OneUp gets dead rocked.
OneUp is just not having good luck with RNG. Alright, looks like Kyong is going straight left.
Yeah, sorry, this all happened so quickly we didn't even get to ask chat where they think the big key is, and now half the chests have been ruled out already. And there's our Master Sword. And with that, we can tell you that actually both other swords were in TR. And the Quake Medallion was sitting in Checkerboard Cave. So if the silvers hadn't been so easy to grab, I think the runners probably would have grabbed a Quake Medallion because one of the sword upgrades is just in Compass Room. So it's the extra bit of time to mirror after Mire, go over to Checkerboard, open up TR and go 2 rooms in to grab the sword out of Compass Room. But when you have silvers, the difference between Master and Tempered isn't quite as big, so...
No, I was gonna say these guys are probably experienced enough to Ganon with Master Sword and silvers. Just going on a limb here.
Oh yeah, no, it's more a matter of, you know, the time difference even for a good runner. So if it were Master Silverless versus Tempered Silverless, I would say the amount of time it would have taken to pick up that Tempered would have been worth it. Wow, I have no idea how Kyong just shot that arrow around that spike tile. Oh no. 1-up. Oh no.
Did he not pick up the sword?
He skipped Rando Room. He has a fighter's sword. He is not going to be able to fight Ganon.
Well, let's see what happens after he fights on us.
I mean, there are no good options. Either he has to go halfway back through the left side to get back to Rando Room, or he has to go down to Mire area, you know, get Quake out of Checkerboard, and then come back up, and he's going upstairs.
Well, he will eventually realize that he probably wants another sword at some point. Whether, you know, it's you know, worst case, Ganon will remind him.
You mean when he can't damage Ganon?
You know, some reminders are harder than others.
Because, yeah, he's gonna beat Agate too, and so any sword upgrade would require... Oh, looks like he just remembered. He mirrored out. It's eaten up quite a bit of time for him, unfortunately, though. Like, 1-up would need Kyong to take a death, and I don't see that being very likely.
Yeah, so I think Kyong hasn't died yet, right? So he still has both berries on the safeties.
Right, so sorry. 1-up would need Kyong to take multiple deaths.
Okay. You know, and this for being you know, spoiler log, the fact that Kyong has what is it, 8 hearts and Bren Mill, it's actually probably not too much different than like a normal you know, non-spoiler race log, or you know, like just in terms of equipment.
Yeah, 8's a bit light for a normal race. You usually see more like 10 to 12, but
yeah,
the red mail helps compensate. And there's something you would never see runners rely on if it weren't a spoiler race.
Oh, that's great. That is some very end game planning here. Oh man, Moldorm is not going easy on Kyong today. Alright, looks like 1-up has picked up his Master Sword, which is 100% required, and is making his way up the gauntlet now. Right around the time that Kyong's gonna fight Agate. Agatu is not cooperating with Kyong.
No, just a bunch of singles.
Oh, that was a nice triple, though.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized OneUp did not bother to grab the heart container that was in the same room as the big key.
Yeah, maybe OneUp at this point is willing to take his chances without that heart container. 6 hearts. He does have red mail, so I think it probably won't be that. I guess like too costly.
I'm gonna check
he's
where the
getting beaten
powder
up, though.
was. Oh, the powder was in cave 45. But given where the mirror was, they never went back that way after getting the mirror, so that's why we didn't see that.
Yeah, I was trying to think when they would have had an opportunity to even be in that part of the world, and I don't think that either runner had gone over there.
Well, they passed by it when they went to get the hammer, but since the mirror was hammer locked, they didn't have the mirror when they went through there.
Right. Yeah. Kyong making a good use of that hook shot. Oh man, one part left though with Ganon, but he's past the danger stages.
And he's got fairies. The spoiler log does not tell you how many Ganon warps, so you still have to be prepared for anything there.
Was that a silverless hit?
But that'll do it. Get your GGs in chat for Kyong, who moves to 3-0. And Kyong finishes with an official race time of 1:06:18, but that includes the 15-minute study time, so officially 51:18.
Yeah, so I mean, this is even for a spoiler log race. This is incredibly fast time. And it's normally like, so I think the normal benchmark is something around sub-hour. Is good, but I mean this is almost a little bit over 50 minutes, which is ridiculously fast. All right, so OneUp is finishing up his Agatu fight.
Does OneUp have a fairy in his other bottle? I can't remember whether the first bottle also had a fairy.
Yeah, well, OneUp has a fairy left.
Okay. Now, if you notice, Kyong was using Samaria strats, where if you put a Samaria block behind you, you won't recoil when you do spin slashes on Ganon, and so you can fit in more of them per cycle. So it's taken OneUp several cycles just to get through phase 1 here. But this is a nice advantageous spot for Ganon to... Well, now we'll find out about the fairy.
Yeah, I was gonna say he found himself a really nice corner to nestle himself in, and then something and then a bad happened.
Oof, and he didn't get the one cycle on phase 2 either. He's got to be careful. He is definitely out of fairies now. And mind you, given the ugly item locations, these are fantastic times for both runners. I guess on the positive side, they didn't need to dip any pendant dungeons.
Yeah, no pennant dipping. I think so. I don't know what you count Desert Ledge as. I mean, but we were able to get there, via the mirror and the flute. So technically, nothing inside desert.
And we had to go to the area for Pod anyway. Not Pod, Meyer. Sorry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if racers if they wanted I guess like some more safeties sorry, not safeties, sword upgrades in TR, they had that option. I don't think it would have been, as you mentioned, terribly out of the way to get the third sword, but these guys seem pretty confident in their master sword abilities.
And GG's for oneup, who will walk across this bridge with an official race time of 109.57, which is 54.57. So both runners are sub 55, and I'd say the majority of seeds in this tournament so far have gone above an hour, so that's still quite good.
Yeah, I mean these times, I mean, it's just like a real testament to the execution ability of these runners. I mean, these guys are very phenomenal.
So let's see if either of them want to do an interview. And we've got Kyong in here. GG.
GG's, Kyong.
Thank you.
So, what did you think when you saw those nice sword locations?
Oh man, yeah, that was definitely one of the biggest things of the seed. The question whether you got the Turtle Rock sword or not. And at least we got the silver arrows very easily accessible, and we had the Bombus Fire Rod combination for Cold Star as well, so it really wasn't that bad in the end.
Yeah, that was some good planning on both of your parts. You both had the same idea of, okay, use bombos to save magic on Cold Stare, and, well, we have the silvers, so don't bother going into TR for any of the extra swords. We also have oneup in here with us, by the way, GG.
GG's.
Yeah, are you just not used to being well into GT and still on Fighter Sword?
It's more that in spoiler matches, I guess, you're used to going into the basement and, you have one thing to do in the basement, get the key and get out of there. And having to pick something else up while you're there, I don't know, doesn't seem to happen a lot with spoiler log. So I think that might have been part of it. I don't know. I'm just spastic sometimes too, so that was probably part of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that kind of did it in, and there were a few other things that added up, really, I'd say. Actually, your routing differences at the start probably gave Kyong maybe half a minute of breathing room. Yeah, oneup, what were your thoughts on your early routing? And then Kyong, I should ask you the same in terms of, how you each planned out your early route.
Yeah, when I first planned the route, I was thinking, oh, this is great. I can get everything before I go to CAC and then just make one trip and go immediately to Dark World. And then, I was kind of watching the restream and, well, yeah, I guess I should say, and, after I planned out like the whole one trip to CAC, I think I found like the ocarina or the flute later in the spoiler when I was routing other things in, and it didn't really click. Oh, it doesn't matter if I only make one trip to CAC because I can easily get the flute the first time I'm there, and it doesn't really matter at that point. So yeah.
And Kyong, I guess that was kind of your plan, pick up the flute as early as possible.
More or less, yeah. I was also happy that we had access to 300 rupees there easily, so we could buy the bombs to do minimal down cave right after, since we didn't really have access to weapons early. Also liked postponing the escape section for later, since we didn't really need lamp or flippers and too much later, so I could do those with boots and the sword.
Yeah, that was kind of the other thing, that you postponed that enough that you got the boots first, so obviously your trip in to get the lamp and the flippers went quite a bit faster.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Kyong, your resource management was actually very spot on this entire run. You definitely kept up your arrow and I guess bomb count. But in particular, like I think one major difference was that you had enough arrows to kill Vitreous. But I think by the time the 1-up got to Vitreous,
Yeah.
it was fortunately a couple arrows short.
I was very concerned about the arrow count, since we didn't really have like free enemies dropping 10 arrows and stuff like that, and we had to go through pod and stuff, so I definitely had to make sure I had enough arrows for Vitreous.
Yeah, actually, 1-up, that was another thing. The arrow management in Meyer, had you just not thought about it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I think I was in pod right before Meyer, and as I was going through, I picked a couple of arrows up from pots, slightly out of the way, but not really, and just kind of as a backup because I wasn't really thinking ahead too much. And then yeah, I get into Meyer and I start thinking ahead to, okay, then I'm going to be fighting Vidi. I need silvers. Oh, that's not enough. And at that point, I don't know, it was kind of too late because I don't know of any arrow pots in Meyer. Although I glanced at chat at one point, and I guess there is an arrow pot somewhere. I'm assuming the lobby, maybe?
Yeah, the very first spot in the lobby that has an anti-fairy, not anti-fairy, the thing you powder, anyways, also has 5 arrows.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a good one to tuck away for next time.
Yeah, regardless though, I mean, you guys both put on a really just phenomenal show for us to watch. I mean, like 51 minutes and almost 55 minutes. I mean, these are just like ridiculously fast times for really any seed.
Yeah, no pendant dungeons certainly help a lot there.
Yeah, definitely a time saver there. And I see your collection rate is now up 54, and we're about to see 1-up's collection rate. 47, wow! That is insanely low. I know you skipped a couple of heart containers that Kyong went to grab, but wow.
Yeah, that does seem pretty low. I don't even know. I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess, since a couple of the dungeons that were needed were like swamp that don't need a big key or anything, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Kyong ended up picking up. He opened a couple extra chests in GT. I think one of them had 10 arrows. I think you also didn't open some of the chests in the New Waldron Cave. That I think Kyong ended up just picking
Yeah,
up.
I definitely opened some extra chests in 5 chest caves. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Kyong, I think you opened all the chests in the back of Sahasrala, for instance, and one up you
Yeah,
only
yeah.
went in there for the gloves and left. But still, 47 is insanely low even for a spoiler race.
Yeah, it's funny because, yeah, I mean, it's low, but at the same time, I had 2 fairies, red mail, and all other kinds of good stuff, so I don't know. Silvers. So, yeah, I really don't know how it was that low.
And you needed both fairies.
Yeah, if I would have really tried hard, I probably could have played Ganon a little safer and probably wouldn't have had to use that one, but I'm like, whatever, might as well try to get the 12th hit on the second cycle because I've got the fairy and I've already lost at this point, so whatever.
Yeah, makes sense. And yeah, up to that point, we were noticing you guys were really matching each other glitch for glitch. You both got beautiful hammer yumps. You both got the spooky action in Mire properly. And, it was just impressive to just see because you both knew you were up against a really strong opponent and had to make those glitches work or you'd lose ground.
Yeah, I knew coming in that I was going to be probably, I knew coming in I was going to be behind Kyong a bit, playing from behind. And, just went in hoping, if I can have a great run, don't make any mistakes and just, stay completely on my A game, like maybe I'd have a shot. But yeah, unfortunately, I did make a few mistakes along the way and that did me in for sure.
Yeah, I think probably up through Mire, or at least up through Vitreous. You were maybe like 30 seconds or something behind. I mean, it was certainly very, very close. I mean, like the lead could have changed any time. I think it was just mainly like once we got to Vitreous, spending a little bit more time there. I think that was probably the catalyst.
Yeah, that was probably the first sizable mistake, and then of course the Master Sword. That was a pretty big mistake as well.
Well, the good news is that you won't have to face Kyong anymore, at least for the Swiss stage. So.
Hey, I'll take it.
And I mean, you're still quite well positioned for making the brackets. I mean, 6 and 1 is automatic bracket qualification, and some 5 and 2 players will even make it at the end of the day. So, still looking good. And Kyong, obviously, you must be feeling good to still be undefeated here.
Yeah, but it's not gonna get any easier.
Well, what's interesting is that we have 7 weeks, and the way Swiss is set up with 64 players, there'll be exactly 1 undefeated player after 6 weeks. So I'm interested to see what happens when that undefeated player has to go up against a 5 and 1 player in the final week. Like, will things even out, or will someone manage to go through all of Swiss undefeated?
Kyong, that's your cue.
That person may or may not be Kyong. We'll find out. Give us another 3 weeks.
Oh god, so much pressure.
That's what happens when you're defending champ.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, so like right now, I think you're the first runner out of the 2-0 series that have I guess advanced to 3-0. So we actually don't know who your potential next round opponent will be. But really specifically for you, you're not on a 3-0 win streak. You're on like a 13-0 win streak, right? From all the races you haven't lost. Last tournaments.
Matches, yes. In games, no.
He lost a game in the finals last year.
Oh, that's true. That's
true. Yeah. I vividly remember that seed even still.
No, but seriously, definitely thank you both for putting up this race and putting up some just phenomenal times. It was very entertaining to watch. It was great. If you get a chance to watch this race back, highly encourage it.
Yeah, thanks.
For the commentary stream and everything.
Yeah, and on that note, do also give these runners a follow. I mean, you saw how good they both are. I'm sure they both have a lot of great matches ahead of them in this tournament, too. So, yeah, you're definitely going to want to watch those. Thanks also to our tracker, Yoinker's wife, who did an awesome job as always. And in spoiler, you really have to be on top of things when you're tracking because the runners are just pulling up items left and right. So it's even more challenging than tracking a regular match. And to my co-com, Clearmouse, great working with you. Congrats on your second race commed now.
Oh no, thank you. The pleasure was definitely all mine. Thank you so much for commentating this with me. It was great.
So I think that does it for races in this tonight. Yeah. The next race will actually be another 2-0 race at 6:45 tomorrow evening. Ham versus Aussie 101. It doesn't have a channel yet, but do check out speedgaming.com/schedule and follow the Speed Gaming channels because we're restreaming as many of these races as we can get crews together to restream them. But I guess that'll do it for us all tonight. So thanks a lot for watching and have a great evening.
Yeah, have a great evening. Thanks, guys.